Lynn, beautiful pub. Now, surely this must be one of the oldest pubs here in Kidsgrove and still going locally, is that true?
It's up for debate, yeah.
Now this is spooky. This is pretty dark in here as well.
And it's full of 2-foot spiders. I'm out.
Absolutely massive.
Okay, so the first serious question, whose decision was it to paint it pink?
So Dave, we're here at the Caldwell, the Toby, and this week we're going to be taking a walk down memory lane, looking at some of the pubs of the past and a few other pubs that have stood the test of time. Where do you want to start?
If we go back to the musical, and I relate it back to the musical Kidsgrove the Bygone Days, Kidsgrove the Bygone Days was actually set in a fictitious pub called the Grove. Okay.
Everyone's heard of the Grove, absolutely.
Well, it was a fictitious pub, but that's what the stage was set up as.
Yeah.
But during the musical, we take the audience on that trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
But we visit a lot of pubs from bygone days. So we go to the we go to the Woodshuts, we go to the Continental, we visit the Galley, we visit the Millstone, and we relive some of the memories that we've got from those particular pubs. So what we're doing today is taking a look at the locations of some of those pubs, and we're going to look at 4 in particular. The Caldwell's one, the Rifleman's the second, then we'll probably go on to Kidsgrove's oldest pub, possibly the oldest pub, which is the Plough, and then we'll go down to the Canal Tavern and have a look at the cellars down at the Canal Tavern.
Sounds really, really good. So it was a bit of a change. We've started off with tea and coffee today, which is unusual. I'm sure we'll probably end up with a whiskey and a Coke maybe.
It is quite
later
early
on today
at the moment, even for me. So yeah.
So tell me more about the Caldwell then, Dave.
Okay, the Caldwell was part of the Linleywood estate, and it was owned by the Caldwells for 1789. I think they left around about 1945. It was at peak, there was 400 acres in the Linleywood estate. But we'll talk about Linley Hall in a future one when we look at Butt Lane and talk.
Right,
so we will cover the hall off there.
Excellent, look forward to that.
Yeah, Frederick Heath Caldwell, he actually lived in the house. He actually played in the FA Cup final. Yeah,
no way.
Yeah, for Engineers versus Wolverhampton. They lost 3-1. But yeah, that's a bit of an interesting fact I only gleaned recently. I'm going to talk and show a few pictures of how the pub looked in 1900.
Yeah.
And again 1924, and they look very, very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then what we're going to talk about is the 80s. It was one of the first pubs I went to. It was, like I said last week, Kidsgrove's first fun pub. This pub is massive. And the very first landlord of this pub was a guy named Paul Boney.
Okay.
So we're talking 84, 85, and Paul ran so many activities here, from wet t-shirt competitions, wet underpant competitions, discos, karaoke's. Paul's going to be joining us a little bit later.
Oh, that'll be really good then.
So we'll get Paul and we'll ask him some questions like, who the bloody hell painted it pink?
Do you know what? I do remember it being pink actually.
Bright pink. Yeah. So we'll give Paul a bit of stick if he admits to it was his choice. Yeah. But yeah, so Paul's coming a little bit later.
So it's pretty obvious that the Oasis or the Caldwell here, brings back memories from your teenage years. Which other pubs were your favourites back in the days?
Wow. Brought up on Clough Hall, so the Clough Hall pub, Clough Hall Hotel as it was then.
Yeah.
That was one of my first pubs. Brennan's throughout the mid-80s to early 90s, where Jerry Brennan ran the pub. Absolutely brilliant boozer, really was. Moved to the Rookery, Robin Hood, one of my pubs. But the very first pub I went in, which I remember so clearly, I think I was about 17, was the Bird and Hand down at Miles Green.
Right,
It's the one on the canal.
Yeah.
You go in there and it was like a terraced house. You walked into this woman's living room and you'd ask for a pint, dark mild. She got an enamel jug. She'd go down to the cellar and come back with your pint. And that's one of the fondest memories. It's no longer there now.
That's wonderful, really.
But
It's a good memory then, yeah.
Yeah, got a few pictures, again, if we use the pictures.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you wanted a bag of crisps, you'd open a cabinet and there were a bag of crisps. Yeah, so those are the best early memories of those. But yeah, we'll talk more about some of them in a later edition.
So Dave, we're here at our second pub of the day and we're at Acres Nook and the Rifleman. What can you tell me about this beautiful country pub?
Yeah, the Rifleman Inn, just up the road from Bathpool Park. Gorgeous pub, very, very popular pub, certainly was. Originally it opened around about 1854, but that was just like an off licence. Yeah. And a lot of pubs around Kidsgrove started like that. They weren't actually the true term pubs. It's where beer was sold out of. Yeah. But this eventually, John Cumberbatch had it originally. This eventually was put on the market at auction in 1876.
Right.
Okay. At that point, what came with it, it was then fully licensed, which meant it could actually sell wine as well as beer.
Yeah.
It got stables, got a living area. Later on, it got slaughterhouse next door. So yeah, that's a bit of history about it. Originally called the Rifle Volunteer Inn. That's what it was originally called.
And then it's changed its name.
Yeah, then it changed to the Volunteer Inn. They dropped the rifle, and then it came back to be the Rifleman that we all know it
as of today.
Yeah. The stables were also included. Did I mention that within the sale of this in 1876? Target Wood is associated with the Rifleman. Now, Target Wood is down at the bottom south entrance of Bathpool Park,
which is just down here.
It's just down here,
yeah.
But down the bottom entrance. And that's how the pub got its name, because the Rifleman Volunteers, who were formed in around about 1860, yeah. The Kidsgrove Rifleman Volunteers, used to go and train down at Target Wood.
Right.
So there was a shooting range down there, and that's where Target Wood got its name. After they'd finished the practice, they would come back to the Rifleman and have a few drinks, and that's where it comes from. Yeah, Target Wood, far end, near Blood Pool. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you come across Blood Pool.
Yeah.
Access to Target Wood you can get through the park, and I still think you can get access up on the A34, close to Miller and Carter.
Right.
Through there that way. Yeah, but it's a good walk, nice walk. A lot of history about it. It's the same as this pub. This pub was made because all around here was pits, was mines. It grew and grew and grew, and you're just surrounded. Miners finished their shift, they straight in the boozer for a drink, and that really was how it built and built and built. It did close for a while. The thing about the Rifleman is, to me, it's had some brilliant landlords and landladies
who've looked after it. And
I can't remember Jack and Hilda Buckley, but I know they were 70s, so that was a little bit before my time. Yeah. But then I remember Dave Smith and Gladys. I remember them fondly. Grew up with the sons. And there was Dave and Leslie, another Dave. And then currently, Alex and Andy have got this place.
Yeah.
And Alex and Andy are an absolutely lovely couple. Previously owned the Queen's in Kidsgrove and then moved up to here. And yeah, it's got a fantastic reputation. The food here is just amazing. The steak pie is legendary. It's always full.
It's one of your favourites, isn't it?
You do normally have to book, especially at the weekends.
Yeah.
But it's got a cracking reputation, run by a cracking couple. So yeah, it's a little bit about the Rifleman, or the soldier pub, as my daughter used to call it.
That's a really good story. Thank you for sharing that with us. So Dave, last week you told me about roughly 40 pubs throughout the Kidsgrove area.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Okay. There was a few more than that, and it was within probably a 1-2 mile radius. In 1951, it was a Festival of Britain. And Jack Cooney, who used to be landlord of the Lamb, and we're going to talk about the Lamb in a second.
Okay.
Jack later went on to landlord the Clough. For the Festival of Britain, he decided to put this list together. This list's been circulated, and what I tried to do last year was collect photographs of each of these 40 odd pubs, 50 pubs. I've probably got at least 30 of those pictures. There's some I'm outstanding, some I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
And we might touch on one or two today.
Okay.
But I mentioned Heathcote Street. At one point, there were 10 pubs on Heathcote Street.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at 4 today.
Okay.
I'm going to look at 4 where I've got a bit of background on them, but I've also got 1 or 2 photographs we can actually share. The first one, whether you say it's Heathcote Street or whether you say it's Liverpool Road, is the Roebuck, which is right on the corner where Barclays Bank was.
So that used to be a pub, yeah.
That used to be the Roebuck, yeah. And the Roebuck, because it's on that level the Barclays is, it got a front door and a side door.
Yeah.
And I've had stories of speaking to a couple of the old chaps down at the Masonic. They say to me, you used to get kicked out the front door, and all you did was go around the side and go
back in.
Around the side door. Yeah, the Roebuck, the Buffs were there. The Buffaloes were used to actually operate from there and meet there. They had a very, very good pigeon club at the Roebuck. Yeah, and that's where Barclays Bank was. So there's a picture. You'll see a picture on the screen. Yeah, of course. Next, we're going up a little bit under the bridge to the Bridge Inn.
So the bridge is gone now, hasn't it?
Yeah,
But that's the old,
yeah.
The railway lines.
So, yeah, if you were going through there in the 40s, 50s, you go under that bridge, and immediately on that left-hand side was the Bridge Inn.
So that's where the toilets are now, is it? Or?
It's exactly where the toilets are.
Right.
Right opposite Becky's Flower Shop and where Tico used to be. Those toilets used to be the Bridge Inn. And Timmins and Stonier were also next to the Bridge Inn. So until they moved around.
Oh, they moved around the corner.
They moved around the corner. So yeah, don't know a lot about the Bridge Inn. I've got the photographs, obviously. But yeah, and you can see how close these were together. You know, you were less than 30 seconds walk.
Yeah.
Then as you start to go up Heathcote Street, one of the first ones you'd come to would be the Continental. It was also known as the Dolphin. Prior to that, it was called the Puddlers. So those are 3 names that I actually know to. The Continental has got some stories, real good stories. It changed its name to the Continental in 1961. Yeah, it was 61. And it was Mr. Grisons who actually took over. Then in around about 65, Eddie Shinovsky took over, and he was there till it was demolished, which was only a few years later. The Continental can tell some stories. The Continental got its name because the amount of nationalities that used to drink in there.
Right.
Yeah, when the pits was at full whack, and you got the people coming and working on the pits, and we're going to do more about pits next week. Yeah. Yeah, there were Latvians, Lithuanians, the Welsh, the Scottish, all came down to Kidsgrove. But that was their local. But Ernie Cole talks to me about the Continental in time. He was a young lad then, and Ernie said it was the League of Nations. You would go in there, it doesn't matter what time of day it was, 10 o'clock in the morning. Ernie says you used to go in, you had to sign in for whatever reason. He said within 15 minutes, you were on the tables. And that's the sort of atmosphere.
It was.
The Continental.
Sounded wonderful, yeah.
Yeah, and Ernie said to him, he said, but the floor was absolutely soaking wet with beer.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's some fantastic stories of the Continental. Ought to have been there then. As we go further up the bank, again, right on the corner, Heathcote Street, Lamb Street, we've got the Lamb Pub.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was Jack Cooney's at this time when he was putting this document together. And like I said, Jack moved to the Clough Hall later on. Another really good pub with a lot of stories. Again, big on the pigeon racing scene.
Yeah.
Very much so. I've even found a dominoes and darts and cribbage game against the Robin Hood with all the names. The Litherlands were on there. There's so many names on there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, 1949 team list there. But one of the funniest things about them, I'm going to embarrass one or two of the guys who may be watching this at the moment.
You better prepare then for this.
Yeah, there was a gym upstairs. And here's a picture of that gym with some of the characters, a little bit older than me. Certainly you got Mr. Johnny Potts on there. Sorry about that, John. But you'll recognise, and Paul Ray's on there, you'll recognise a lot of these people, or anybody who's probably late 50s, early 60s, maybe a little bit older, could feature on this picture.
On this picture,
yeah. So yeah, the Lamb, another decent boozer, double diamond, big pub, really big pub.
Yeah.
But yeah, sadly, another one that's gone. Obviously the pub is still there, as we can see, but no longer a pub. But yeah, good memories.
A lot of good memories, and thank you for sharing that. So Dave, our third pub of the day, the Plough Inn. Beautiful pub. Now, surely this must be one of the oldest pubs here in Kidsgrove and still going locally, is that true?
It's up for debate. You're right about it being a fantastic pub, and it is. And what Michaela and Oggy have done with this place is just fantastic. It really is beautiful. Yeah, but the oldest. Great debates going on in relation to which is the oldest pub still trading in Kidsgrove. Up until 3 or 4 days ago, I was convinced it was the Plough.
Yeah, where we are now.
Yeah. And the background to the Plough is, we believe, and when you talk to the historians, whether it be Philip or you talk to somebody like Michael Mobley, this pub was built round about when the turnpike was introduced.
Right.
Okay. The turnpike was introduced in 1765. So you would have thought it's going to be within 5 years, maybe before that. So yeah, I would say we can put it safely at 1765 to 1785. A lot of the other pubs I've got details of 1820s, 1830s. But yes, 2 days ago, talking to Philip again, we were talking about the Crown and Thistle.
Which is just up here.
Which is 150 yards just up the road there.
Yeah.
Philip believes, but he can't prove it, that the Crown and Thistle may be the oldest pub in Kidsgrove after all.
Okay.
I didn't know, and I actually worked at the Crown and Thistle when it was Brennan's. It was one of my locals, which I mentioned. And I knew it was called the Crown and Thistle before Brennan's, and they reverted back to the name. But I never realised it was called the Scotch Army. Never. And in Philip's book, that we'll have a look at a little bit later, the Scotch Army is mentioned 3 or 4 times.
I've never heard that myself.
No. And the Scotch Army is linked to Bonnie Prince Charlie.
Okay.
Now, Bonnie Prince Charlie, when he tried to invade England, he got as far south as Derby.
Yeah.
But word has it he came this way. Now, Bonnie Prince Charlie invaded in 1745. 1746.
I think we can start seeing the connection there.
Yeah. So again, timelines. You know, I'm like with my timelines. You would think, and this is Philip's conclusion, that Scotch Army pub will have opened very, very soon after the invasion.
Right.
Yeah. Not saying for 1 minute that the Scotch Army stopped in that boozer and had a drink, whatever. But there's something.
There's a connection there,
definitely,
isn't there?
Definitely. So if anybody can answer it for us with proof, with evidence, that would be absolutely
Let us
fantastic.
know in the comments.
Yeah. But to talk about this, yeah, let's say 1765, 1785. It's got some good stories. It's got some interesting stories. 2 weeks ago, we covered the murders. We covered Leslie Whittle's murder.
Yeah.
This boozer was used as a place where interviews were taken.
For the murder?
For the murders, yeah. Local residents were interviewed in here.
Mm-hmm.
It was also a place where once a police force, who you can imagine is hundreds, at peak there were 400 working on the case across the country.
Mm-hmm.
But this place would be used where they would come and have a beer after they'd finished the shifts.
So if no one knows, obviously the old police station was right next door, wasn't it?
Yeah. Right next door, the old police station. And interesting enough, when you have a look at this photograph here, you can see the side door. There's a side door where the police used to enter from.
Right.
So they'd walk from Longrow, just down a dirt track, and you can see the dirt track, into
the side entrance and straight into the pub.
Yeah. So there's a story there, and it wasn't a proper path, but you can see it's been walked on quite a few times. So yeah, they see that, and I think it was Bridget. Was it Bridget and Viv? No, yeah, it was Bridget. They called it Bridget's, who ran the pub in 1975 when it happened. And the police called the pub Bridget's. They didn't call it the Plough. Yeah. So the place itself, Michaela showed me yesterday, it's got stables. The stable, well, what's left of the stables are just outside on the car park there.
Yeah.
Again, very, very large cellar, similar to a couple that we'll be looking at. You'll notice the steps on the front door, and the steps are raised steps.
Yeah,
Steps either side. You'll look at those. What used to happen, the carriages used to come up and down the lane, up and down the road, and they would stop outside the steps. The carriage door would then open,
and they could walk straight into the pub. So that's what them steps were there for.
That's what they're there for. Yeah.
I always wondered that, Yeah.
Yeah. So also, one of the stories with this is there was a market next door.
Okay.
On the open land on Longrow, Thomas Kinnersley. And Thomas Kinnersley's market, and what Thomas Kinnersley does, he was a very, very clever bloke. He used to pay his miners out of here, at the pub, but he didn't pay them in cash all the time.
Yeah.
He would actually pay them in vouchers that they could spend on there. So the money was coming in from the pub, the money was coming in from the vouchers, but it was quite a large market, right where the police station was, where just around the corner there. So yeah, it's got a lot of history, and that market was 1860s as well, around about that time. So yeah, is it the oldest pub? I'm not too sure. It's definitely between the two.
So either this one
or the Crown
of Thistle.
So we need to find out.
Again, if anyone can let us know in the comments.
We do need proof, though. We do need proof.
Absolutely. We'll leave that one with you guys. Okay, so I've loved the facts that you've told me so far. So let's go back to the 1950s.
Okay. Well, in the list of
the pubs. Yeah.
Okay, so we've done Ethcote Street, or we've looked at 4 or 5 on Ethcote Street.
Yeah.
If you let's take Market Street. Okay. So I like a drink in the Queens.
Absolutely.
But at one point there were 6 pubs at Market Street.
Along Market Street alone?
Market Street, yeah. Now I've got photos, like I say, of 75-80% of the pubs in Kidsgrove from the 50s, 60s, 70s. There's pubs I haven't even heard of. The Blazing Cat, never heard of that one, on Market Street. You've got the Staffordshire Knot on Market Street. You've got the Queen's Head, we know
about
there.
that one, yeah.
I know about the Albion Inn.
Yeah.
Okay, the Albion Inn was literally on the corner opposite the
Labour Club.
Labour Club, yeah.
Yeah.
And prior to that was Kidsgrove Working Men's Club.
Right.
Yeah, so Kidsgrove Working Men's Club was down, as we know, down Ardingswood.
Yeah.
It was also across opposite the Labour Club. And then it's in the Masonic Hall now, the Kidsgrove Social Club. So you've got that. You've got the Albion I know about, and then the Millstone Inn.
Not heard of the Millstone Inn.
No. The only Millstone Inn we know is
up towards the Butt Lane
area.
Yeah.
So there are the pubs there that I've never even heard of. So
that existed, yeah.
That existed, according to Jack's document and a document...
On Market Street.
Yeah. So I'd love the pictures. Like I say, I've only got 50% of Market Street pictures.
Yeah.
But you've got to remember, at one point we did have two sides to Market Street as well. So, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another street.
That's really, really interesting.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
There's a few pictures to prove it.
That we can put up on there,
Yeah.
So Dave, you said on the video last week, and something that I'm really looking forward to, and I think the audience will be looking forward to, you said we're going to go and check out some of the cellars.
Yeah.
Maybe for a few of the spooks, the ghosts, or whatever we call it.
We're going to have a look at the Canal Tavern's cellars today.
Excellent,
and then when
brilliant.
we do part 2 and part 3, we'll have a look at a few more pub cellars. Hopefully the Air Castle, which is, like I said, it's a labyrinth of
Massive downstairs.
Yeah. So we'll try and get down to there, but we'll definitely go down to the Canal Tavern next.
And that's where we're going to head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're heading down the cellars, and this is what all you guys are probably looking forward to most. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow, we're heading
Here we
down
are, Canal Tavern.
the Canal Tavern, and this is the cellars of the Canal Tavern. Wow.
So look at it, we've got the fireplace in here, we've got the sinks, we've got, looks like another sink.
Is this the mortuary bed?
That in there is a mortuary bed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, a little bit spooky.
This is very, very spooky in here. So that's a mortuary bed.
Yep. That's what the manager's telling us.
Plenty of cobwebs as well.
Yeah. Here's another room.
Look at the old fireplaces. Plenty. Oh, wow, this is dark. Now this is spooky. This is pretty dark in here as well.
And yeah, and it's full of 2-foot spiders. I'm out.
Absolutely massive.
And if we go through here, we've got further rooms. So again, we've got another room there to the right.
It's huge under here, isn't it?
If we come through this door, again, another great big room now where all the kegs are actually kept in there. There's more rooms back here.
More cobwebs.
Yeah, another room.
It's just huge under here.
Yeah, and people did used to stay here as well, you know.
It's actually lived down here.
Well, no, at one point it was sort of a stopover for travellers.
Right.
So they would put them up down here.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Here we have another. Yeah, another room.
It's massive.
And there are further rooms through there.
Over,
so I used to play football for the Canal Tavern some years ago, and those were actually changing rooms.
Over here.
And through there, round the back, there's more rooms similar to this, and we used to use them as changing rooms. And then this door goes out onto the car park. But yeah,
That's incredible.
that's a whistle stop tour.
I've got to admit, that one room was a bit spooky.
And when the manager's telling you that it freaks him out when the lights start flickering down here, yeah.
You can see why, actually, can't you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So now I think we should head on up, and I think I'm actually due a whiskey now.
I think we need to after that one.
Okay, we're back in the Caldwell Tavern now, and I've been joined by the ex-landlord of the Oasis. And here is Paul Boney to tell us a bit about the Oasis and those good old days in the 80s. So what year did you first come here, Paul?
It was 83.
83?
1983, yeah.
And how long were you here for?
2.5 years, something like that. 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where were you before that?
Well, I was at the Padbury in Congleton,
Oh, yeah.
which is a couple of miles down the road,
Yeah.
really. We opened that up as a fun pub, and they decided to open a little group of Ansels of Burslem decided to open a little group of fun pubs based around Stoke-on-Trent area, Newcastle. So I worked alongside a team of guys, and we identified sites that we thought would be good for the fun pub.
Yeah.
So this was earmarked. Hop in, Limelight.
Yeah.
They were picked out as testers. Rock Candy Mountain in Lichfield and Winking Frog at Cannock. And they did an initial small group, all doing the same or similar sort of things.
Yeah. Okay, so the first serious question, whose decision was it to paint it pink?
That was a guy called Paul Warnock, who was the area manager at the time. He'd been out to Egypt on holiday and came back with this idea of a Casbah bar in Tor Pits. It was hilarious.
Called that people regulars called it the Pink Pig.
Pink Pig?
Because I wasn't even old enough to drink then, but I was coming in here.
Yeah.
But we used to call it Pink Pig.
Yeah, it was a Pink Pig. I was shocked. I've got to be honest. I was really shocked because I was running Pashby House, which is a traditional building, really nice, old worldy pub. We turned it into an upmarket disco type environment. Obviously, I was asked to come down and liaise with the people while they were doing this. Just absolutely shocked when I pulled up on the car park and they'd painted it pink.
I know. Must have been.
He said it was for the shock factor. Basically, any publicity is good publicity was his kind of view on it. I wasn't so sure.
Well, you certainly hit the headlines for it.
Oh yeah. So in that sense, it worked. It was all over the Sentinel. It was all over the local news. I wasn't too impressed with everything, to be honest. Inside, people whoever came in, they had the marquee. You were like walking into a tent. It was a Casbah.
Yeah.
That was the theme.
Yeah.
But every time the front door opened, the tent would lift. when it shut, it'd come back down. And back in them days, everybody smoked.
Yeah. Yeah, of course it did.
So it was like a swirl would go around the pub of smoke and this haze. It was quite. It was funny. It really was
I
funny.
can remember it was always rammed.
Yeah.
It was always busy.
Well, you say that, but basically what happened was Pashby was really successful. Winking Frog was really successful. This was the third one to be rolled out, and it flopped massively. It opened up and was quite busy, but the guy that we put in here, he was from Chester, who I knew. He'd been running a nightclub in Chester Quaintwave. He came down and he was like a duck out of water, really. He just didn't fit in. People stopped coming, and it deteriorated quite quickly into, failure, really. So I said I'd run the two. I said I would run Pashby and come up here and run this one as well, because it's literally 5 minutes away. They didn't go for that, so I was given really good money and came up here.
Yeah.
Left Pashby and came here to try and turn this round.
One of the girls who used to work for you, Rita Lovett.
Rita, yeah.
Like I mentioned, Rita gave me a video of one of the fun days in here.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some things that are on that video. We've been trying our best to transfer it onto DVD. we're having a nightmare, and we've even sent it professionally to try and get it done. We can't. But on there you can see a number of events. There was one where you did a fun run all the way around.
Yeah. It was something to do with Feed the World. It was the yeah, it was tied in with that. We raised so much money, unbelievable amounts of money for the time. Everybody joined in. There was loads of different things.
There must have been 300-400 people.
Oh yeah, it started off. It was supposed to be 15 or 20 of us were going to do this run. It ended up well over 500 people took part.
Yeah.
Police had to cordon the roads off.
Yeah.
Sammy came down. Sammy Plank came down, got involved. We did a lot with the radio. Sammy did regular nights for me up here. Really good bloke. Raised unbelievable amounts of money.
And
Yeah.
then another one of your regulars, I don't know if she worked for you, Julie Barrow.
Yeah.
Julie Jukes. She was telling us about the wet t-shirt competition.
Yeah. They were really popular. That all stemmed back years ago when I was working in North Wales. My next door neighbour was a young lady called Sinead Jones, the Welsh Wildcat, and she won Miss Great Britain and all the rest of it. And she'd said to me one night, "Come to the stables in St Asaph. We're doing a wet t-shirt," which I'd never like. A fellow called Peter Stringfellow.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, went to see it. It was just unbelievable. And we did it here. We did it here with the local girls.
Yeah, no, we know the winner as well. I've been trying to track her down. Her name escapes me at the moment, but we know she's
Sue?
still, I don't know, blonde hair. I've got in the video. You can sort of see it.
I think that was. I'm sure her name was Sue. She was actually worked in one of the banks. I think she worked in Barclays Bank.
Oh,
down in Kidsgrove.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think I don't know her name was Sue.
You couldn't
but
forget Sue.
Yeah. And what about the idea for the wet underpant competition? Where did that come from?
Right. That came from all the girls were saying it's really unfair. This we had a regular competition with the wet t-shirts. We'd done the 1830 nights and all the rest of it, and we just decided let's go for it.
Julie Barrow was Julie Jukes as she is now. She was actually one of the judges.
Yeah.
In the musical, because we do a scene within the musical that's the Oasis.
Yeah.
And it was we do the song Pina Colada because you're one of the first places that sold.
Yeah.
And we talk about it, and we talk about the wet underpants competition, and Julie says I was one of the judges.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, she
was.
was.
We used to do it on the back, on the balcony at the back there.
Yeah.
Never shortage of lads having a go.
Well, I can see one of the Malvins in there, and I can see Nigel Jones was in there.
Yeah. He regularly used to be, 10 to 15 of the lads would take part. All good fun, really good fun. Roy Maxwell used to video it all.
Yeah.
So because it was so packed, we had screens all the way around the pub, and it didn't matter where you were standing, you could see what was going on.
One of the biggest problems I've had is trying to get hold of a video, or even a picture outside when it's pink. I've got one off the bank there.
Yeah.
It's in the distance. That was taken 84. But if anybody out there has actually got any videos of what went on inside here, that would be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us a little bit now about your staff. Who do you remember?
Oh, remember-wise, I mean, obviously we had a team of door lads. That was Alan Hughes. He married a local girl, Audrey, from down at Plough. John Unwin.
John gets mentioned a lot on Facebook.
Yeah, John came with me basically wherever I went for up until a few years ago, really. There was Colin. He was I can't remember. I think he made Warburton.
Carl Warburton. Colin's still about.
Yeah. Colin, really nice lad. He was a fireman at the time.
Nice.
I think he was on the fire.
Property developer now.
Oh,
Colin,
right.
Yeah.
Who else? Sid. I don't know. We always called him Sid. He was a local lad. I have no idea. It wasn't his real name. Bill Henshaw.
Dave Rigby tells me he used to do the disco on a couple of nights.
Yeah. DJs. We had Andy Oakes. Obviously Sammy Plank. A couple of lads from Congleton used to come over. The Ettridges. Then we used to have Movie Smith. He was called. I can't think what his real name was. He was all Sage away. We had a variety of different DJs.
On the bar staff?
Bar-wise, Jane Clark. Jane
Parker?
Yeah, Jane used to live across the road here. Really good girl. Jane stayed all the way. Chrissy, obviously.
Yeah.
I think she's running... Which pub is it now?
No, Christine Evans, her daughter, is running the Plough in Kidsgrove.
That's it, yeah. I think she ran the one in Scholar Green, the big pub.
She had the Red Bull, Bottom Bull.
Right, yeah. That's Christine. She worked for me. Yeah. Who else did I say? Rita was on the cleaning staff. Her little brother Gary, he used to bottle up for me.
Yeah.
But Rita, I bought a 8-foot long blow up dinosaur,
As you do.
and I used to put it in certain places to make sure she'd done the job properly, because I could always tell if she hadn't hoovered under the seats by the screen.
I know Rita Welsh is going to love you for this.
Yeah. I remember one morning I'd hid this thing under a table, and she bent over backwards when she put the hoover underneath, and this rubber dinosaur's head flopped out. Yeah, no, we had some fun. We had some real good fun.
Good memories, good memories. And over the moon that you've been able to come up and have a chat with us, because this recording should be going out probably end of next week, if not before.
Yeah.
Obviously, me and you know each other. We've kept in touch.
Yeah.
A lot of people always ask me about you, and people say I've not seen him for 30 years, so maybe longer. So yeah, really chuffed you've come along and told a few stories to us.
Yeah, I got to mention one guy before we finish, and that he was the loveliest guy I've ever come across. 40 years I did pubs, and that was Nick Ashland.
Nick, yeah.
Nick sadly died a couple of years back. Yeah. Nick worked for me here with his girlfriend Mandy at the time. I trained him up. He ended up running the hop in at some point.
Yeah, he did.
Lovely. I was devastated when
I've got goosebumps. You're talking about Nick because I knew Nick.
Yeah. But I associate this pub with Nick.
Yeah.
Cracking lad.
No, he was. He was.
Yeah. Had some good times. Yeah. It was probably the pub that set me up in running pubs for myself. I mean, when they decided to change the format, I think they went to the Mr. Q's and you know the eating type venue. My time was up then, and I got a fabulous payoff, and I went and bought a pub in Altrincham.
Yeah.
From there, and ended up working for myself. Yeah.
It's been really good talk anyway, mate.
No problem.
Thank you very much indeed.
No problem.
Thanks.
So Dave, we're coming to the end of this. It's been a fabulous journey today. The rise and fall of public houses. I've absolutely loved it. Thank you for all your stories.
It's only part one.
Only part one, so there's going to be. You guys have got to look forward to part two
and part three of pubs. So we'll be doing those in a month or so time anyway.
So a big thank you to Glenn, who's actually behind the scenes doing the filming for us today, and thank you for Paul for joining us. Absolutely loved the story there, and again, Dave, you've done a wonderful job there. So it's definitely a big cheers there.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys, and the viewers. We're at that point now where they're going to be asking that question again. So what's going to be on the next series of these documentaries?
Okay. Next, we're going to have a look. Within the musical, we cover 5 hit disasters. So Talk of the Hill, Bunkers Hill, Mary Hill, Harrisy Head, and Bircham Wood. So we cover those in quite a bit of detail on the musical. We're going to take a look at, on location, at those 5 pit disasters. So yeah,
it's going to be really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to put the link on here. Check out the link. Kidsgrove the Bygone Days, the musical in full. You've got 2 hours of a fabulous video to watch there. So on to the thank yous. Again, thank you for Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you for Dave for attending today.
And thanks for everybody on Kidsgrove Past and Pictures for the contributions, the support, the arguments. But yeah, thanks very much.
We will see you on the next one.